This week, the United Nations decided that the Israeli military campaign needs to stop. They decided that the Prime Minister of Israel should be put under arrest. They observed a moment of silence for the death of a cold-blooded, murderous tyrant from Iran. And Ireland, Norway, and Spain decided to recognize a Palestinian state. We hear this and people shrug their shoulders, say it's a crazy world. But let's try to understand a little bit more. Peel it back another layer. The pasuk says in Koheles Vohe Elokim Yivakesh Es Nirdaf, Hashem seeks the pursued. Rabbeinu Bechaya in last week's parsha goes through example after example throughout the course of biblical history, where you find Hashem connecting with the underdog, the one that is pursued. From Hevel, who was chased by Cain, to Avram, who was chased by Nimrod, to Yaakov, who was chased by Esav, to Klal Yisrael, who was chased by the other nations. The world is familiar with the Jew as the underdog. And one day there will be a Geula, Behar v'yameinu. And Geula means that there is a revelation. The entire world sees Hashem. They see that we are His chosen people. We are God's ambassadors on earth. But we are not there. And until that time, there's this friction, this tension that the nation, the world doesn't know how to wrap its head around. That wait, there's the Jew, but instead of being the pursued, all of a sudden, for the first time in history since the Beis HaMikdash was destroyed, the Jew is in power. The Jew is in control. The Jew has the army. The Jew has the money. The Jew has the resources. And even though, of course, we are pursued, that is what the world has a hard time wrapping its head around. That's when this anti-Semitism gets out of control. It's when people see the Jewish power and the Jewish money. That's how it is now, and that's how it was in past times when people bring up these claims against the Jews. This is what we're going through today. And on the one hand, we have these stories of people with anti-Semitism. And on the other hand, I'll tell you a different story about a boy who went to a baseball game in Detroit this past week. And he was wearing his yarmulke, not his hat. And he went to the front of the right field line each inning to try to get the ball from the players as they toss it around and throw it out to the stands. And they weren't looking at him. They were ignoring him. And the whole section where he was sitting became so enamored with this heilige Jewish boy with his yarmulke and tzitzis. Goyim from all shapes and sizes and colors and stripes, yelling out at the players to help this kid, to get a ball over to him. And finally, before the bottom of the ninth, they did. So, while we have lots of talk about the people that want to hate, there's also a reality that is more pleasant, that we have a lot to be thankful for, that most people in America are indifferent to respectful of a God-fearing Jew. And here's the line. It's when we are the rodef, when we are big and loud and in their face, that's when it starts to create those frictions. But if we can be humble, Behar Sinai, on a humble, small mountain in a small parsha, humble and refined, proud of who we are, not trying to blend in, but humble, then we gain their respect. That's the way to live in Galus. Someone was telling me they were in a tour of a site in Israel, and the tour guide was pointing to the chutznikim disparagingly. He said, "You out there in Galus," and he said, "You're in Galus too." That's why we have these issues, these Israeli politics, because we're in Galus now. We're not in Gula. But this is the way for us to live in Galus, is to be both proud and humble. And the lesson is from this week's parsha. We have the Shemitah and Yovel cycle, and the Shemitah and Yovel cycle is to keep us humble. Behar Inyan Shemitah Eitz Har Sinai. The Inyan of Shemitah Eitz Har Sinai is because Har Sinai was chosen because it was a small, lowly, humble mountain. And the whole concept of Shemitah is to keep us humble, keep our egos in check. Every 7 years, Jews seem so driven to accumulate and to acquire wealth. We need that reminder every 7 years. Take it away. Kili ha'aretz. It's actually not yours. And the Kli Yakar in this parsha, in a more profound way, says the 50-year Yovel cycle connects the 50-year lifespan of an adult person until their 20s. Developing 20 is a bar einshin, and 70 is the traditional lifespan. So 50 years of adult life. What kind of life are you going to have? At the end is the year of Yovel, when everything goes free. And the land goes back, and Inve Nizirecha, Loy Sivtzar, and the grapes that you kept to yourself, you're no longer going to harvest them. V'shavtem ish el achuzasai v'ish mishpachei tashuvu. And each person goes back to their family in heaven. Go back to the Olam HaNeshamas, where they came from. What are you going to take with you? V'safarta lecha. If you count for yourself, Sheva Shabbos Shanim, you count each day, each year for yourself, it's going to be a day that I'm going to make myself better. Then V'hayu lecha, Yemei Sheva Shabbos Shanim, then they will stay with you. Acquiring things don't stay with you, but when you become, like we said last week, not having but becoming a better person, becoming a more holy, a more godly person, that stays with you, because that's what the Olam HaEmes is. It's the Olam where you live on eternally in the way you made yourself in this world. So the Yemei HaSfira, these days that we're in, are a mini version, a microcosm of our lives. And it is a time to put in perspective that all the material things, Geirim v'toshavim atem imadi, we're just passing through. None of that is permanent, none of that is lasting. What's going to last is when we climb a mile, when we become a better person. That's going to stay with us. And how? We can particularly focus on humility. That's the lesson of Har Sinai. That's the lesson of Halakim Yivakesh Nirdaf, to be the humble one. And so as we go into the world today, we shouldn't try to blend in. We should be proud Jews, but we also shouldn't be in people's face. We should be humble, proud and humble, and with that, people will see. They will see Hashem on our faces. They will respect us, and we should all be zocheh to the Gula Shleim Heremenu.